Prison is a tough place to be, you feel me? And not everybody can cope with it and deal with it as well as others do. So the numbers are up when it comes to suicides. But that don't mean all of them are true, though.
A hold down, man. Suitcase this, my cell phone, and my charger don't walk with a limp. Get it knocked off or missing, you gon' get it. Next time I see you ass, you gon' leave airlifted.
What's up, y'all? You already know, man. KFROG TV back in the building. Y'all hit that like, subscribe button, and make sure you hit that notification bell so you can see it first. All right, now, today we're going to be speaking on, suicides that happen in prison. Don't get me wrong, it does happen. Anybody who ever's lost a loved one, due to something like this or that harmed theirself or has someone on the streets that actually tries to do it or has tried it before and y'all stopped them, my prayers go out to y'all for shit like that because, it's hard when you got a loved one that would harm theirself or that did harm theirself. But for the most part, I'm going to be speaking on, in prison, a lot of people, can't really cope with doing the time. So their first instinct is to jump to the sheet or jump to the razor blade. Those are the two common ways that people usually harm themselves when incarcerated. A lot of people would think, the sheet's the main thing or whatever because you see that often in movies and stuff like that. But down here in the Florida Department of Corrections, the razor is the #1 way that people tend to harm themselves. Now, they're called cutters. And you'll come across people, that have both arms just covered in scars. Like it looks like their whole arms are tattooed. It looks all tatted up, but it ain't even tats. It's just all different scars from all the different times they cut themselves. I had a homeboy. He was from Dade County. I was at Charlotte, CI with him. He got put in my room in confinement. Both of his arms were cut all up. Cut up so bad and so so nasty looking. And, he broke it down to me, the reasons that he ended up cutting. He told me he lost his daughter and his mom within the same, 3 weeks. He told me that his daughter passed and his mom was the only one that was helping him through it. This was like his 3rd prison bid. And his mom passed right after that over some stuff. So he went psych so many times. And, people, tend to do this on a daily basis down here in Florida prison. It's like a mental health thing, mental health awareness. Like you got people that literally are psych, and then you got people that just go psych because they want to make the police do paperwork, or they don't want to follow the rules or do what they're told to do, so they'll go psych. They're turning out, to avoid to do what they're supposed to do. I've seen people in confinement go psych because they don't want to go to rec. Or go psych because they don't want to come out of the shower. When the officers come to pick them up from the shower, they don't want to. So they go psych and they cut themselves. Like, it is a common thing. Now, I'll never forget when I was at Charlotte. One of these guys was going psych. I was in the top tier in confinement. He was going psych on the bottom tier. The flap that they put your tray in, and then that you got to get cuffed up through or whatnot. This dude had so much blood oozing out of him that he stuck his hand out of the flap. They had the flap open, and he was just rubbing it and smearing it all over the outside of the door, all over the flap. He was just smearing it like it's just crazy, like how much blood you will see in prison when it comes to people cutting and people harming themselves. Like when they took that man out of his cell, the runarounds, which are also inmates that clean up and everything like that work confinement, they had to pick that all up. They had to clean all that up. When they took that man out and they had him handcuffed and they put him in a wheelchair, as they were pushing his wheelchair away, his shit was just squirting. It was squirting all over him, all over the ground, and he was just so calm talking to them and everything as they were bringing him to medical. Like, that is what a lot of inmates tend to do, is they cut. They feel like it's a relief. And, everyone knows you don't cut this way like you see in movies. If you want to do it, you cut long ways, But it's some people, that's how they cope with their pain, you know. And you've had some people that didn't make it, you know. People pass all around the world. Every day there is someone passing away from suicide. There's, whether, you know, they hang themselves with a sheet, or, you know, they cut themselves, you know. And it's just stuff like that. Like, but I've never seen so much blood come out of someone and someone do it to theirself until I went to prison. You know, like, it just is so common. See, Charlotte was a psych camp. They had C-dorm, which was for psych patients. And when it is a psych camp down here in Florida, not all camps are psych. Some camps are sweet and they're not, nothing like that. But when you get to a psych camp like Charlotte CI, them inmates are not only trying to harm other inmates, you know, but they harm themselves. So it makes you wonder, like, damn, they did that to themselves. So imagine what they would try to do to you, you know. And when I first got to prison, you know, they had razors on the on like where you could just ask for it from the officer because you had to shave. So they were literally supplying the same thing people were using to harm themselves or harm others with. They were supplying it. Then they passed the rule in Florida to where your hair ain't got to be a certain length. It could be a longer, and you ain't got to shave and all this. You just, there's no sculpting. You just can't, no sculptures. You just can't get no tape, you know. And then they took the razors off to where you don't get them no more, you know. But people harm themselves every day in prison. That's a fact. That is a guaranteed fact. I was at South Florida Reception Center when I got transferred from Charlotte for KFROG TV. After I was in the box like 200 something days, I finally got transferred from Charlotte. Had to go through the reception center again. So when I landed at South Florida Reception Center, I was in confinement for a week until I hit my main compound again, which I ended up landing at DeSoto. While I was in confinement at South Florida Reception Center, there was actually an inmate on the bottom tier on the left of my room. I was in the corner room. He was on the bottom right there. And they had an officer who had to sit in a chair by this inmate's door 24/7 and watch this man. And I was wondering, why is he got like that dude watching him? You know, like, you know, why is that officer sitting there? Why is he sitting there? I didn't think he was watching, you know, the inmate at first. I thought he was just sitting inside the dorm, you know, because this is confinement and this is my first time in the box at South Florida Reception Center. So they take this guy out of the cell one day, and when they take this guy out of the cell, this guy's arm is so cut open that it looked like a piece of pie missing. If you have a whole piece of pie, or a whole pie, and you just take a big old triangle out of there, or like a piece of pizza out of a whole pizza pie. Like, this dude's shit was so split, it was like this wide. Literally, it was like that big across his arm, like, you know, and he was known for doing that. He was known for hurting himself. While I was in the confinement that 1 week there, people, you know, the officers kept running in there and taking him out. He would recut the same hole. He even had scars all on his neck and face and all this shit that I couldn't see from my room. But the day that I was being transferred, when they had us all and they brought us all out of our cells and they were getting ready to put us all on the bus to bring us to our main camp now, when we were all under the Sally Port waiting, he was there, and the officers, one was on the left of him, one was on the right of him, and he was literally within 2 feet of me. So I could actually see him, like, this is the guy. And I looked down at his arm. They had it bandaged up. It went from being 1 bandage to like 3 bandages. He just kept adding to it, like if he had something against his arm. He wanted his arm off or something like that. And it was just big old bandages, all bloody. Then I seen the big chunk scars on his neck, on his head, to show, okay, this guy's been doing this, you know. And some people truly do want to end themselves like that, you know. Like, they literally do. Some people do it just for attention. Don't get me wrong. I know plenty of people that really wasn't trying to, you know, body themselves, but they were just, you know, cutting for attention, you know. But the ones that truly want to do it, you know, do it. And it does happen left and right. There is a lot of them. You know, it does happen. When I was in my county jail, I was in black and white max custody. My first day moving in, I got out of confinement. I got in a fight in one of our jails over the phone and landed in confinement in our main jail. When I was getting out of the box in the main jail, they moved me to the 7th floor max custody because my custody went up. The first day I walked into my dorm, I walked in there, and the 7th and 8th floor is where all the max custody inmates, like things you see on the news or anything like that, that is where all the people from, you know, with high profile, like, you know, like serious shit go, you know? So the day I got there, I walked in there, boom, I'm in there I've only been in the quad for maybe a couple hours. It's time for me to go shower. Now that it's time for me to go take a shower, I'm walking to the shower. We got 2 showers. I mean, a shower up top on the top tier, and we got a shower on the bottom. I'm like, I'm gonna go shower downstairs. So I go downstairs. As I'm walking to the shower, all of a sudden someone lands on me, and I like move, like, man, what? And this dude jumped off the top tier, hanging himself. You know, and I like, man, what? And I'm like, and I always was taught, mind my business. You see something, act like you don't seen it. So when I seen that shit, and I just kept going and walked to the shower, that dude that tried to hang himself, everyone on the top tier, he played a big part in all their friendships. Because back then in my county jail, it was 3 in, 3 out, which means the top tier comes out for 3 hours while the bottom tier is locked down, and then the bottom tier comes out because you couldn't let us all out at the same time, the tops and the bottoms. You know, there was just too much conflict and too much shit going on. So that's how it was. It was 3 in, 3 out. You get 6 hours out a day, 3 in the morning shift, 3 in the night shift. And that's what it was. So there was only 6 rooms up top, 2 people to a cell. That's 12 people that you got to deal with. So now that I didn't help this person or grab him when he tried to hang himself, I went and got in the shower, played it out like it was nothing. Everyone else on the top tier didn't like me at first when I got there, because they were like, man, you didn't see how he just let, what's his name, about kill himself? But at the same time, I'm just doing what I know is to stay in my own lane and mind my business. I don't know what that dude's got going on. That dude that just tried to do that, you know? That same year that I was in my county jail, there was 5 suicides. That same year, 5 hangings, 5 suicides, you know? And a lot of them are true. A lot of it does happen. Don't get me wrong. It's going down every single day in prison. But this is one thing I will say. The government done got so comfortable with blaming it on that to where they get away with a lot of things and will blame it on a suicide and say the man did it to himself. You know, you have several people out there that family members still don't know to this day or believe or won't accept that that's what happened to their loved one. Like, I know my grandson want to do that. I know, you know, and that be a lot of cover up. You know, the police, the COs, you know, they would literally hide you and beat you and stop all your mail from going in and out. They will hide you and figure they could just do this and get away with it until you heal up and then put you back on the compound. Who's going to believe you? Who's going to believe an inmate over a person with a badge or a person that works for the state? You know, they feel like your life don't matter. And, you know, they may just want to be bullying you. They get so used to it. They might want to beat you one day and hide you from your family in confinement in the hole that they're going to beat you so bad or whatever. And then they're going to put you, and then they're going to see that you didn't say nothing about it. And then that they got away with it, that they'll start liking it and they'll figure they can do it again. And then it'll come a thing to where they start doing it to you all the time. They get used to it. It's like bullying. When they were used to bullying kids in school and they can't no more because everyone's grown, you know, they become an officer like that. And then they take it out on inmates, people who they feel like ain't worth shit because they broke the law. Or it could be someone that was bullied in school that grew up being bullied, that now he can get some anger out and let some stress out by bullying someone and getting away with it. you know. And then after the time they do it so many times, you know, they feel like they could just do it. It might be every time they come on shift. It might be 4 times a week they decide to come in your cell and beat you up. And there ain't nothing you can do about it. But then your body can only take so much. You know, you might not pull through one of these times. One of these times, you know, they might feel like they didn't whoop you as bad as they did the last 3 times. And you might not wake up. You might have a concussion. You might pass away in your sleep. You might not wake up from these situations, you know, from what they do and get away with. You see what I'm saying? And the first thing they're going to do when that happens is they're going to write it as it was a suicide. That's the first thing they're going to do. And don't get me wrong, at Charlotte, I know of 2 incidents that it wasn't. You get what I'm saying? But the officers, you know, they're going to write what they write down, you know. And the whole compound would rise up and argue with the police. Man, that man ain't, you know, like that, know what really happened and what really went on, you know. And it's just crazy because they get away with so much. They know that suicide and psych camps, people are known to harm themselves. That it takes as easy as 1, 2, 3 to write it down as that's how they passed away and that's what happened, and it's covered up like that. You see what I'm saying? But it ain't always like that. Even though the numbers are high, don't get me wrong. Like, I'm not doubting the numbers are high, not high. The numbers are high. I know they are, because there is people out there that do stuff like that. It is what it is. But at the same time, there's a lot of cover-up behind it when it comes to this shit inside the system. That they'll go to the extent to cover up the littlest thing, you know? And it's just fucked up when you look at it, because it's like, you know, there's families out there that done, you know, moved on with their life, which you have no choice, but, and accepted in your head that your loved one passed from either a sheet or a razor to himself, when really that ain't even what it is. You know what I'm saying? So, like I said, anyone who's got a loved one that tried to harm themselves or has harmed herself or passed away from that, you know, I'm sorry to hear that. I'm sorry for your loss. It does happen, but a lot of it that is happening in prison is a cover-up behind the guards. And that's what it is, because they can literally do whatever they want. Literally. They can get away with felonies and crime while taking it out on someone who's in there for felonies and crime. That's simple, you know? So basically my message to the day is, if you know someone that passed away from suicide, or they say that man hung himself, or that man cut himself, or whatever it is, you know, make sure you know that's what happened. You know, don't just brush it under the rug as yourself and look at it like, yeah, you know, yeah, I know, man, that's crazy. Because, you know, people know their loved one. They know their mind. They know their character. They know everything about them. They know how they act as an individual and everything. So if it's someone you know that wanted to did that to themselves, 9 times out of 10, if it happened where they were locked up at, that ain't what happened. You know, the officers and guards, especially the wardens, they want to do everything they can in their power to not make their camp look like they can't control it. The 3 C's, care, custody, and control. Those are the 3 things that they must remain at all times in their possession as the officers, as the people who run the prison. They must always have the care, the custody, and the control of the compound and of any situation. So, when something bad happens, they're not going to put the real story out there because it makes it look like they can't control their compound. It could be as easy as an overdose. Someone can overdose, you know, on Tunchi, meth or any drug in there, and they can overdose from it and lose their life because of that. Them officers, by the time they come out and say this person died from this use of drugs and this person died from this use of drugs, they done covered up probably 15 to 20 incidents before that and made it as a suicide. That's simple. Or if they don't do it as that, they'll put natural causes, like he fell asleep and passed away of natural causes and stuff like that. They will not come straight out and say, he got a hold of this drugs and all that, because then it makes it look like, damn, there's drugs at your compound, or damn, you can't control the substances that are floating around in your compound. You don't have custody, care, and control of your own compound. And no warden and no officers want it to look like they don't. That's what it is. The CO, the correction officer, well, the TA is going to keep it from the Sarge. The Sarge is going to keep it from the captain and lieutenant. The captain and lieutenant is going to keep it from the warden. That's just how it is. That's the stepping stones right there. From the bottom to the top. And the warden is going to keep it from the head of classification, which is Tallahassee, and which is in Tallahassee, Florida. And they're going to keep it from the press, basically. They're going to keep it from the world. The TA will keep it from the Sarge. The Sarge will keep it from the captains and the lieutenants. And the lieutenants will keep it from the warden. And the warden is going to do all he can to keep it from the world. And that's just basically what it is. But I know a couple people that I was real cool with while in prison. There's 3 of them. There's 3 people that I was cool with in prison that are no longer here. That are no longer here. And 2 of them passed away from suicides. They took their life, They were cool individuals and everything like that. Another one, he didn't take his own life, but they said he did. So that's 3 people that they're saying, and this is all at one camp, Now, these psych dorms, they have people in prison at psych camps that ain't supposed to be in prison, that are actually, that are really psych. You feel me? Like, they're not just playing psych. You know what I'm saying? They're incompetent. Once you get found incompetent down here in the state of Florida, you get put in mental health court. When you get put in mental health court, you play the psych role like you're psych. You were found incompetent. So now you're in mental health court. So now they're going to do all they can to not send you to prison because you are incompetent. But they're going to try to find you competent to where they can send you to prison. Now, Charlotte CI, when I was there, was filled with actual people that are incompetent, that literally were found guilty of charges, that literally need state hospitals more than they need prison. I'm talking real deal psych, not faking it, that need their meds, that they give them meds, but if they don't take their meds, if they miss their meds, you see a side of them that's even worse. And then if they do take their meds, you still see a different side of them. Like, real deal incompetent people shouldn't be getting sent to prison. They should be getting sent to state hospitals, whether it's, for 5-10 years or whatever it may be, because they are incompetent. Now, that's what the whole goal is. It isn't to find you incompetent and then send you to prison. Because what's the point of finding you incompetent then? You see? So people in the county jail, to try to beat their cases, they play psych. And a lot of them, they pull that psych role, and they will go incompetent, and then the courts will try to postpone you for up to 5 years. They will try to postpone you for up to 5 years to see if you're just playing incompetent or if you really are incompetent. And that's what everyone tries to do when they catch serious charges. Like, oh, now they're playing that psych role. You know, that's what they do. It's like a way to try to, you know, try to escape. That's shit. That's what everyone should do, you know. But my whole thing is the people that are actually incompetent are in prison. And I seen them with my own eyes. You know, like some of them, yeah, I know every case is different. But as far as everyone being in prison, you know, and the population of incompetent people being so high, to me, I just feel like that right there is like the government is just railroading people who are crazy. To them, it's just another sentencing. It's another railroaded victim, you know? And, you know, that shit it just blows my mind because people do pass due to suicides, but a lot of it is covered up as well. All right? Anyways, man, appreciate y'all watching this little video or whatnot. I just wanted to speak on this. Y'all stay tuned. I'm going to drop another video for y'all tomorrow. Till next time, man. You already know this frog.